You're stuck in calisthenics, you're confused, you feel like you're not making progress. Other people online you see are progressing 10 times quicker than you. Maybe even your friends are progressing quicker than you. You start thinking you just don't have this calisthenics stuff in you. Stop what you're doing and stop what you're thinking. I promise you, you have the capacity to get stronger in calisthenics. The only issue is that your training is just wrong. It's boring, it's bland, it's not allowing you to have the most intensity, and it's not allowing you to get the strength adaptations. And in this video, I'm gonna break down how we can change your training right now with these completely different methods to not only keep the training fun, engaging, but also actually break those plateaus and provide a different training stimulus on those muscles to get stronger, build more muscle, and start unlocking those key skills. This is probably gonna be one of the most important videos that you'll watch, so please take away these skills, take away these training methods, and you're gonna absolutely fly, I'll promise you. So one training method you can add to your training right now, and I think this is great, and I'm sure you probably may have heard of it, but it's EMOMs. And what we're doing is a rep on the minute, every minute. And what you can do is you can set a timer. You can maybe start with 6 minutes or even 10 minutes, where you do one rep of an exercise that's relatively hard, rest for the rest of the minute, and on that minute, every minute, you go for another rep. And I just wanna make sure that you're doing this with exercises that aren't incredibly difficult, where you're going to failure on each time, but they're at a decent intensity for you. For instance, you can do this with a muscle up. You can do a muscle up on the minute, every minute, or maybe even 2 reps if you're okay with them. Another great way to do this is with holds, like L-sits, planche variations. And let's say if your best hold for a planche is probably around 10 seconds, every minute on the minute, you can go for about that 60% intensity. So you go for 6-second hold, and then take your rest for the rest of the 54 seconds or whatever it is, and keep consistent with that. So I always wanna make sure that you're going kind of hard, but about that 60% intensity for each of those sets. And it's a great way to keep the training stimulus up, build good form, build a lot of volume with that skill. And as I said, this works for almost every single skill. It's a great way to change up the typical traditional sets that we normally do. And with all of these as well, I wanna reiterate, we still wanna be doing traditional sets. I think it's very important, but introducing some of these methods throughout your training is a great way to break it up. So another great way that we can introduce variety to our holds. So when we're doing L-sits, planches, elbow levers, front levers, all of those exercises, if we're just doing consistent holds and just only getting stronger at those, obviously they can get a little bit tedious. So what we can do is we can create holds, but repetition based as well. So if I'm training for a planche, what else I can do is I can treat each hold as a repetition and move in and out of the rep. So for tuck planches, for instance, I can move in and out, spend 2 seconds, 1, 2, come back down. 1, 2, come back down. And I can do maybe 4 or 5 reps of that until I'm pretty fatigued. And you can push it relatively close to failure. And you can measure that progressive overload as reps rather than holds as well. So it's a great way to change up that intensity and really push the set. So I think this one is probably a bit of an expansion of that one, but I think this is by far one of my favorite ones. And I program this for clients a lot of the time to really break through and really push the intensity. As I think some people don't train with enough intensity when it comes to holds. They kind of get the feeling, they get fatigued, and they break down, when people can actually push it a lot harder. So one of the great ways to break through that, if you are one of those people and just want to get the most out of each set, is rest pauses. It's a bodybuilding way to train as well. A lot of bodybuilders will do it to exhaust the muscles. But what you can do is you can do your typical L-sit set or planche set, front lever set, whatever it is. Hold it until you can't and you're fatigued. Come back down, pause for about 3 seconds, have a breather, and then try go again. And you might find that you can get an extra 2 seconds out, but it's a really good way to increase that intensity, create more of that training stimulus. It is a very fatiguing way to train, so I wouldn't do this absolutely all the time. Be very smart with this one. So one of the best ways to build strength is to take your muscles through a full range of motion. But the issue is when we're training those hold-based skills, we're obviously just holding. So it's an isometric position, our muscles aren't changing. So one of the best ways to build strength is taking your muscles through a full range of motion. So what we can do with those holds is actually move through a range of motion. For instance, with, let's say, tucked front levers, we can start in that tuck position, come all the way down and bring it back up. So we call those raises. We can do the same thing with planches. We can do planche push-ups and take the shoulders and our elbows through a full range of motion. that's too hard, like you can do planche lean push-ups. There's also raise variations. If you're building toward a planche, you can do full raises. So you're building those straight arms through that full range of motion. There are so many different ways that you can actually still build a hold while taking the muscle through a full range of motion. And not only is this great for building strength, it's actually really good for building muscle too. So if you want to build those static holds, but build a lot of muscle in the same sense, don't do so many holds, do these full range of motion exercises. And you can still do this with exercises like even L sits. So you start low, come up as high as you can, bring it back down. So you're still going to be building up that L sit well and truly, but you're taking the muscle through a full range of motion. Great way to add variety to your training and create a much greater stimulus on those muscles to grow and get stronger. So this is one that I'm sure all of you have probably heard of and done before, and this is negative reps. And I'm sure a lot of you probably have seen it with exercises like pull-ups. So you can do negatives with like a 4 or 5 second decline until you can obviously do the rep, which is great. But we can also do that for harder exercises. Like for instance, handstands to planches, great negative way to do it. You can also do handstand push-ups. So like you can do chest to wall handstand push-ups and just control the negative phase over that 4 to 5 seconds. Same with normal handstand push-up. And you can even do this for front levers, back levers. So I think incorporating the negative rep is a great way to train a skill that you don't necessarily have yet. It's a really good way to provide a greater stimulus. So it's something you can definitely incorporate into your training right now for a lot of those harder skills. So you'll see a common theme here. A lot of the time what we can do is we can train skills that we don't have yet, and we can use assistance. So things like negative reps is a great way to do that too. But another way, and if you don't have access to bands, highly recommend getting bands, is long bands. And this is a great way to train those harder skills, build up the form, technique, and strength for it when you don't actually have it yet. So you can do this obviously for planches, front levers, all the rest of it, but there are a lot of other skills you can do it with. For instance, handstand push-ups you can also do it with. Use the wall to assist you a little bit at the sides and build up that way. There are so many variations you can do this, even for the foundation exercises like pull-ups, chest dips. Banded variations are without a doubt a great way to change up the training, add variety, and really build up the form and technique that you're trying to build. I incorporate bands into my training for probably half the session, for sure. I think it's the best way to train and really build the form, technique, and strength for sure. So in the previous one, we used assistance to make exercises easier. We can also use resistance to make the exercise harder. And I'm sure we all know weighted calisthenics like weighted dips, weighted pull-ups. These are obviously very, very good to build strength and muscle and build that obvious foundation. But we can also use like ankle weights or weight vests on skills to make an exercise variation that you find relatively easy a whole lot harder. So there's a lot of ways that we can manipulate the training with little bits of weight to continue building strength. I think this is a great way to train as well. When we're training exercises and skills, you'll notice that there's like sticking points of an exercise. Like with a pull-up, it's the hardest at the top, and it's the same with like archer pull-ups and one-arm pull-ups, and even handstand push-ups all the way at the bottom is a lot harder. So what we can do, if we're trying to train that skill, we can train partials. So we're only doing partial ranges of motion. So we're still building the movement pattern, but obviously with only a shortened range of motion. And we can do this in 2 ways. We can train the easiest spot and only build up half and just build up that way. So we're doing less range of motion, or we can only train the harder area. So we can use a little bit more assistance and just train that top portion to isolate the hardest part of the movement and build strength in that particular range. And this is really good. So for the first one where we were doing an easier range, I think that's great for exercises like vertical press variations, and we're using some form of height to change how far deep we go. But I think one-arm pull-ups and pull-up variations, doing tempo reps only at the top to build up that top range is something you can definitely incorporate into your training. I think one way I do this as well with clients, especially when I'm training for archer pull-ups or one-arm pull-ups, is we do one full normal repetition and then one half and then back down. So we're spending a lot more energy in that harder spot of the movement. So there are 2 ways to really incorporate partial reps. And I think this is an excellent way to train. So obviously we just did partial reps. And I think, as I said, it's a great way to build strength, but we can continue this on and actually do complete isometrics. So let's say with a handstand push-up or pike push-up, the hardest part of that movement is at the bottom of the rep. So what we can do is we can literally just do holds in that position. I think this is great for exercises like that handstand push-up, even like front lever pull-up variations where you just do a touch. So front lever touches at the bottom of the top of the rep. So isolating the hardest part of the movement with holds, great way to build strength in that area. And you can do that for one-arm pull-ups as well and just do that hold there with that band. or archer pull-ups, even just normal pull-ups too. So treating exercises that go through that full range of motion and just isolating that really hard position where you don't have as much strength on, awesome way to train. And lastly, I think by far this is probably the most important one on the list. And I'm not just saying that because it's the last one, by far the most important. I think this is one that a lot of people who build skills very quickly, they introduce this. Very firstly, I just want to let you know that I do have programs and community support in my community. And I think if you want to level up your training, get some coaching support, have access to a community, get programs that are going to absolutely skyrocket your strength, this is the best thing you'll ever do. Literally barely even $1 a day. I'd suss the link below, get more info on it there. I'd love to see you guys. However, that final one and the 10th method to train is greasing the groove. And I'm sure a lot of you may have heard this, but I'm sure a lot of you don't actually introduce it. And for exercises that are skill-based, like handstands, planche variations, front lever variation, introducing this throughout your day, the best thing you can do. And what I mean by greasing the groove is that you're training the skill multiple times a day, but you're not really pushing it to complete failure. So you're going at that like 60% intensity. Or with handstands, you're just getting a little bit of training in, like you might do like 5 to 10 minutes, but broken up like 4 times a day. And this is how I unlock the handstand very, very quickly. And a lot of clients have as well, so there's a secret for you. But greasing the groove is such a smart way to train. Just make sure that you don't abuse it, you listen to your body, and you don't push it too hard of an intensity. Always keep it about that 60%. You don't want to completely stuff yourself and then interfere with your actual training volume as well. So be smart with this one, but it's a great way to build your skills for sure. So I hope there's stuff you can take away with this. It is a bit of a complex video, but I think taking even just a few methods into your training is a great way to really break those plateaus, change the training stimulus, and just having a little bit more fun as well. All the best with it. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe, like, all the rest of it. Smash your training. Let's go, guys.